welcome to another edition of Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate. I'm your host tonight, Scott Waddell. Caitlin Wesley, of course, had Tisha Symes on last night and did a great job going solo. So here I am on my own tonight, but we'll try and soldier through it here. We've got a special guest coming up. First of all, would like to thank our sponsor of this episode number 28, to the Governor's Pub and Eatery, one of the best spots to eat if you're in Sydney, Nova Scotia. If you're ever down there for the races, make sure you check out the Governor's Pub and Eatery. And of course, its owner and chef, Arden Mofford, is taking part in the big Atlantic Regional Drivers Championship this coming weekend at Red Shores. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a few moments. But first of all, we got a special guest tonight, and I've been excited to talk to this young guy. I've talked to him on Facebook plenty of times and have commented on a lot of the stuff that he's done down at his home track there. And he's just a young fella, and I remember myself at this age all excited about horse racing and starting into the industry. And I can tell you right now, Justin, you have got a big head start on me. I got started when I was probably around 15 years old and worked my first job at Exhibition Park Raceway. And I never really got into the horse side of things till later on. So really, really excited to talk to you tonight, buddy. First of all, welcome to the podcast. And how's the weather down there?
Good. Thanks for having me, Scott.
Oh, no. And I know you've been excited about it, and we've certainly been excited to have you. So what first got you interested in in horse racing, Justin? How young were you when you first actually started?
Well, I was around 3 years old when I started, but when I was first born, I was actually born on the same night that Some Beach Somewhere actually won the Metro.
Oh, really?
So it was kind of like I was born into the business.
Yeah.
And then I was around 3 when I was first getting into it because my great uncle, Fraser Turnbull, had a mare who eventually had a colt, and his name was Junebug's Baby.
I remember him well, yeah.
So I have grown up around him, grew up with him, got to travel with him when on his races, and we would take trips to Charlottetown to go watch his stake races.
Yeah.
And just been big fan of him and loved him ever since then.
Yeah, he was a good young horse, wasn't he, in the stake races when he first started out? He was a tough racehorse.
Yeah, he was real dominant in his 2 and 3-year-old season.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a nice one. And you mentioned Some Beach Somewhere, and man, I remember that Metro pace like it was yesterday, and I can't believe you were that young when Some Beach Somewhere was racing. But man, what an animal he turned out to be.
Yeah, he was such an amazing horse.
Yeah. So at a young age, Justin, have you sat behind many horses so far in your young career?
Yeah, I have. When I first started, I got to learn on a horse named the Captain Jack.
Okay.
He was with a guy named Joe Poirier who helped me learn how to jog back then. And I also got to start on a horse named 10 Mile Beach.
Okay.
With actually a driver at Northside who's named Keegan Madden.
Keegan Madden, yeah.
So thanks to them two, they taught me the ropes on how to jog.
Yeah.
And now I'm actually warming up horses for Arden Mofford.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's let me warm up a horse named Finer Things.
Yeah, yeah.
And off that one, but I'd say the coolest horses I've ever sat behind would have to be a horse named Atlanta, and This Is the Plan.
Okay, yeah.
I got to jog them when I was down visiting Ron Burke's farm at Gateway.
Oh, wow. What a thrill that must have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, Atlanta has been such a great horse in his career, and also like you say, this is a plan. He has been a top-notch, stake performer, and then he went on to some great things as an aged horse too. So you must have had a lot of fun down there at the Burke stables.
Yeah, they were like it was like they were two babies. They were that smooth going,
Yeah,
and you could tell too that they were professionals.
so they love their job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what if I had to ask you your three favorite horses? Now I know you've been following racing for a long time, so it must be pretty hard to narrow it down to two or three, Justin. But have you got two or three that come right to mind when somebody asks you that question?
Well, my first one will always be Junebug. Then I'd say my second one would have to be Foiled again.
Oh wow, yeah,
Just because like when he came to Old Home Week for the Gold Cup and Saucer, we know good connections with the guy who looks after him, and we got to go and spend the day with him at the farm he was at.
yeah,
And they asked me if I wanted to take Foiled again for a walk. So we got to take Foiled again out, walk him around in the grass, and he was like a gentleman. He was that gentle with you, and it was insane to walk that kind of caliber of a horse. And for my third one, it's kind of tough because I like Beach Glass and Bulldog Hanover
oh, okay,
for my top four, I'd say.
yeah. Yeah, you must have enjoyed watching Bulldog the last couple of years. He was such a fantastic horse, and certainly probably ranks as one of the top three horses that we've ever seen.
Yeah, and talking about Beach Glass,
Yeah,
he was actually born in the Maritimes at Truro for Brent McGrath.
yeah,
And when he was actually a 2 year old and like in his baby years, we were supposed to take a trip up to go see him train.
yeah,
But then COVID eventually happened.
uh,
We weren't able to make it up, and he eventually got shipped off to Florida.
yeah.
So we didn't end up getting to see him. But then a few years later, when I got to go down to the Hambletonian, I seen that he was in to go. So
Okay.
it was pretty cool to see a horse from Truro racing a caliber of a race at the Meadowlands.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you. I've seen your picture with Ken Workington up in the judges stand at the Meadowlands, and I know you visited there at least on one occasion, but I think you've been there a few times, haven't you? Or at least a couple.
Yeah, I have been up there a couple times.
Yeah. So what's it like to sit in the announcer's booth at the Meadowlands and have that point of view watching over that huge racetrack, one of the biggest in North America?
It's pretty cool because like around here it's pretty short where you can just see them right up close.
I know.
But down at the Meadowlands, it's that far. It's like you need binoculars to be able to see them on the backside.
Now, does Ken? He must use binoculars, does he?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, because I had a chance to quite a few years ago announce a Rito Carlton, and back then it's a 5/8 mile racetrack, and like you said, you're looking at the horses a lot further away, and you wouldn't think it would make that much of a difference, but uh, certainly has. So tell us about the first race that you ever announced. How did it come about? Was it a planned thing, or did someone just kind of put you on the spot and say, "Come on, Justin"?
No, well, one day I was just chilling around at the track
Yeah,
and they were looking for someone to call an amateur race. And this guy, Joe Poirier, and the staff in North Sydney,
yeah,
they asked me if I wanted to give it a shot. And I
awesome.
And I said, sure, I'll give it a try. And I was a little nervous at the time, just going up to call my first amateur race.
Yep.
But once I started calling, I remembered practicing in my room my pretty much my whole life listening to Vance calling.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, this isn't too hard.
Yeah.
And ever since that amateur race, I've been loving it ever since. And thanks to Shane Ryan, the track announcer at Northside,
Yep.
they're letting me call one race a week now on their actual card.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool that they're letting me able to do that.
Yeah, and that's how I started out too, Justin. I used to for Ingham Palmer way back in the day when I first started. He got me to start announcing post parades over the PA system and kind of got the flow of how to do that and practice that for quite some time. And then one day he just out of the blue, he said, I think it's time for you to try your hand at announcing. And like you, I was scared to death my first time, and especially doing it in front of, one of the best, if not the best to ever do it in New Brunswick. Ingham Palmer, and it was such a great experience. But I think you keyed on something very important, is that we've got to encourage young people to do things like this, because I know that whenever anybody came up when I was announcing the races and they wanted to announce a race, I would never turn them down. I'd always give them an opportunity. And guys like Chris Davies got their start announcing at Exhibition Park, and Sean Dooley's son Brendan Dooley was another young guy, and they both ended up going to on and announcing some race cards on their own, and became pretty good little announcers. So anyway, definitely stick with it. I've heard some of your calls already, and you've got a promising career if that's the way you want to go. If you want to do the media side, or if you want to do the horse side. So, do you have a preference? Like, do you like being more on the backstretch, or do you like being up in the judges' stand?
I kind of like both. Like
Yeah.
before I started calling the amateur race, when I was like around 3 years old, I would go up with Vance every year during Old Home Week, and I'd get to watch a race with him. And just getting to see him call a race is like wanting me to progress and get better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'd
What a
prefer
guy.
I'd prefer being up in the judges stand because it's pretty fun being up there.
Yeah, right on. So do you visit the other Nova Scotia track, Inverness, a lot, or?
Yeah, I called one race up in Inverness one time,
Okay.
and now I warm up a horse named Real Big in
Oh, real
Inverness.
big, yeah.
And thanks to Lily Watson, she lets me warm him up every week there.
Yeah, he's a good old racehorse. He actually raced in New Brunswick for quite a while. Rick Armstrong had him for a bit, and a guy named Harold DeFazio had him down here in St. John too. And he was such a nice horse. You could race him from the back, or I think he liked being on or near the front. He's got really good gate speed.
Yeah. Also, one of my goals this year for Inverness is I really want to call a race with a horse named Rotten Ronnie in it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to call one of his races this year.
Yeah, we had Redmond Doucette on the podcast there a while back. Geez, seems like a long time ago. But anyway, he had mentioned that he's hoping that Rotten Ronnie comes back strong this year, and that he can race in some of the free for all events, hopefully. So hopefully you get a chance to do that this year.
Hopefully.
So who's your favorite driver in the Maritimes?
That's pretty hard, Scott, I'll be honest.
I know.
I don't really have a favorite that comes to mind because all the drivers do a lot for me around here.
Yeah.
So, but like if I have to look up to a driver that like came from the Maritimes, honestly look up to like James McDonald and them,
Yeah.
but a lot of the drivers from the Maritimes are really good. So it's kind of hard to pick a favorite driver.
Yeah, and we've got so many great drivers in the Maritimes. We've been truly blessed, in the past and, even present when you look at, even the Atlantic Regionals coming up this weekend with, four drivers from Charlottetown and the island. And then you've got Redmond and Arden from down in your area. And then we've got Todd Trites and, then you've got your Kenny Murphys and Corey and Mark Campbell and David Dowling gets in it this year. So we are, I watch a lot of races and I think that Red Shores and a lot of maritime tracks have drivers that can basically go anywhere and drive.
Yeah.
So do you watch a lot of races all over the Maritimes? Do you watch like all the Red Shores broadcasts?
Yep, I watch a lot of the races, let me tell you, Scott.
Do
I
you?
uh, I like to
Figured you did.
follow I like to follow a lot of like the stake races from every track,
Yeah.
mostly the invitational horses. And if I'm not either there live watching them, I'm watching not only in the Maritimes, but I'm like watching all the tracks, keeping up with the big horses from the States and all the big drivers and everyone.
Yeah, so you're at a young age, you're already a walking encyclopedia, probably.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So do you think you'll ever try and drive a horse someday in an actual race, or do you think you'll kind of stick to warming up and maybe training? And I don't know, have you owned a horse yet at all?
Yeah, in fact I have owned a horse before. Um it started out one time when Winback Farms had a naming contest where you
Oh
got to
yeah, yes,
where you get to send in names to try and name a horse.
yeah.
And a few weeks later we got an email. My name that I sent in got selected to be named a horse.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I named it it was my first name. I put Justin in it, another shadow.
Oh,
So
okay.
it kind of sounded like just another shadow. And so we followed her ever since going through the sales. And after the sales, my dad knew who the owners were.
Yeah.
And after that, he asked if we could maybe get a small little share in the horse.
Okay.
So then 2 years ago for Christmas, I got a surprise that I owned a little share in the horse that I named.
Oh, that's so cool, man. That's a neat
And
story.
we were following her and waiting for her to start her racing career.
Yeah.
But when she was jogging in her 2 year old, she was way too big to start going.
Oh, okay.
So we had to give her a little bit of time off. And we were waiting. We gave her a year off to kind of eventually grow into her body.
Yeah.
And when she started training back in her 3 year old year, she unfortunately took a step while training.
Yeah.
And she unfortunately broke her sesamoid bone.
Okay.
Then we had to sell her, and now she's gone to a different owner to be eventually a broodmare.
Okay.
But just to be a part of that horse was meant a lot to me. So
No, that,
eventually I'll own another one.
so you looking at buying a younger one, do you think, or a racehorse?
Yeah, I want to eventually start again with a baby,
Yeah.
and then just trying to learn on like how to bring one to the races.
Yeah. Now, have you gone through that at such a young age? Have you helped guys break any yearlings or anything like that? Have you had any experience at that yet?
Not yet, but hopefully soon. I'm hoping.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
I got to watch Junebug being broken in,
Okay. Yeah.
but unfortunately he was a little too crazy for me to handle him at such a young age.
Oh my gosh. He's a
So,
handful, isn't he?
yep, he is a handful.
I was going to ask you, and I said, there's no way that Justin probably ever jogged that horse yet. So he was a little hot bugger, that fella.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, ton of speed though.
Yeah, he
So
had
what's
big
your,
heart.
so what's your favorite track to visit when you go outside of Nova Scotia, your home province? Is there a particular track that you just love, like the Meadowlands, Red Shores, or any tracks that you've been to that kind of you would say is your favorite?
Well, obviously, I do. I really love Red Shores for Old Home Week.
Yeah,
Outside of the Maritimes, I'd have to say the Delaware County Fair for the Little Brown Jug
yeah,
and the Meadowlands for the Hamiltonian weekend.
okay, awesome. So hopefully, I hope you get a chance sometime in the near future to announce a race during Old Home Week at Charlottetown. That would probably be a dream come true for you.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list, Scott.
Yeah,
Maybe.
well, it was on mine, and I'm kind of living proof that it can happen because I got a chance to announce a couple of times at Red Shores during Old Home Week, and just nothing like it. I'm sure that you'll get that opportunity because Vance has really always been supportive of young guys coming up through the announcers booth.
Yeah, I'm just. When I was like 3 years old, Vance would take me up every week, every year, like I said earlier, and
Yeah,
it's just been a pleasure to go up with him. And like you said, to eventually, hopefully, call a race there. I'm just waiting to see if either Vance or Ken will let me call a race at their tracks. So
yeah.
we'll see what happens in the near future.
Well, hopefully, even if you find your way down to Truro every once in a while, hopefully they give you a shot down there too. So I certainly encourage, any racetrack out there to give Justin a try. And you've done a fantastic job with the qualifiers and the races that you've done so far. So just remember, don't let anybody tell you can't do it. But
Yeah, thanks.
perfect.
And
Oh,
Scott,
yeah, go ahead.
would you mind if I show you something right quick?
No, you go right ahead, buddy.
So if we take a look over here,
Yeah.
this would be the
Little Brown Jug.
2019 Little Brown Jug that I got from a guy named Bill McKenzie.
Oh, nice. What horse was it for?
It was for a horse named Southwind Ozzy.
Oh, okay. Yes, I remember him. Wow, that's cool, man. The old Little Brown Jug right behind you. You've got quite a wall back there. I'm jealous.
Yeah, pretty special. And the story behind the jug, by the way, it
Yeah.
when we first went down to Delaware, I first got to meet Roger Houston.
Okay.
I asked Roger if I could get a picture with him,
Yeah.
and Roger said sure. And then eventually, about probably I'd say about an hour after I took a picture with Roger, he ended up actually making his Twitter profile picture the picture of me and him.
Oh, that's cool. That's
So
cool.
then the next day, me and my dad got up and we were gonna go watch some horses jog in the morning. And then this guy come up to me and introduced himself, and his name was Joe McLeod from the Sugar Valley Farms.
Yeah.
So he actually came with a golf cart and he took us around and he asked, "What would I like to do that nobody else gets to do?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Go up and watch a race with Roger Houston."
Yeah.
So we took a drive down by the grandstand and
Yeah.
got by security. We crossed the track, went over, but before we got to go up in the booth, I noticed these three people on the broadcast set, and I said to Joe that I know them,
Yeah.
and he said that I know them. I said, "Yeah." and I recognized Wendy Ross, Michael Carter, and Dave Brower.
Okay, yes.
And then Dave and them actually got me on the broadcast set during live television,
Yes, I saw that.
and they were asking me different questions like who's my favorite driver that I'd like to see, and I said Montreal Teague,
Yeah,
and then they asked me was like who's your favorite horse you'd like to meet that's racing this week, and I said Wiggle It Jiggle It,
yeah,
and then they asked me who I thought would win the Little Brown Jug,
yeah,
and that's when I picked Southwind Aussie,
yeah,
and they just asked me a bunch of questions about that. Then eventually we got to go up in the booth with Roger, and we watched a Grand Circuit race, and a horse named It's Academic actually won the race.
yeah,
So we got to watch that, which was unbelievable. And after after that, we left the booth, we went down, and Joe McLeod said that we're not done yet. So then we eventually got back into the golf cart. We drove back past all the barns, and we went down by all where the big Winnebagos are,
yeah.
and we went right to Montreal Teague's Winnebago.
Oh, wow.
And I actually got to sit outside and talk to Montreal Teague for 45 minutes outside,
Awesome.
just talking about his horse and everything, and had a good time. And eventually Montreal said, "Do you want to go meet the horse?"
Yeah,
So after that, we got to go meet Wiggle It Jiggle It, get some pictures with him, and that was a great time. And then fast forward to Jug Day,
yeah,
a guy came up and introduced himself, and his name was Bill McKenzie,
yeah,
who was actually the owner of Southwind Aussie,
yeah,
and he said that he seen me on the television and said that I picked his horse to win the race.
yeah,
And he said that if his horse wins the Little Brown Jug, that we are to be out in the winner's circle. And Lord and behold, Southwind Aussie ended up winning the Little Brown Jug. So we got to go out in the winner's circle, get some pictures with him. Then a few minutes later, I moved out of the way to let them do like their headshots and everything at the end.
yeah,
And after they were done, I asked my dad if I could ask Bill to get a picture with him and the trophy.
yeah,
And I went up, asked Bill if I can get a picture. He said, sure. And then Bill said, would you like to hold the trophy? And I said, sure, why not? We got a picture with Bill. Then I was getting ready to hand Bill the trophy after the picture, and
yeah.
Bill McKenzie ended up telling me, he said, no, you keep this, take this home, and you'll never forget your Little Brown Jug trip.
Oh, wow. What a story, man.
Yeah, so ever since then, I've
Oh, very.
had the jug.
Man, Justin, you have done so much at such a young age. I'm totally blown away and very, very jealous that I didn't get as much experience as you did. As you know, how old are you now, by the way?
I'm currently 16 years old.
You're 16. Okay,
Yep.
awesome. So, do you plan on trying to keep on the racing side to go as far as you can and kind of just see where it brings you?
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm going to finish off. I'm going to ask you some non-racing questions as we come to a close here. Uh, what is your favorite TV show?
I would say possibly The Big Bang Theory.
Do you watch it on repeat?
Yeah, I watch it a lot.
There you go. What about your favorite food and restaurant?
Well, my favorite food is what I'd have to say would be spaghetti because I do eat a lot of spaghetti, let me tell you.
Hey, me too.
And I'd say my favorite restaurant I'd have to be a place called Mary Brown's Chicken.
Oh my God. Yeah, we got a Mary Brown's in St. John here.
So I'm hoping one day they'll maybe make one down here.
Oh, they don't have one down there.
No, it's mostly up by Churros Way.
Okay, that's strange because it originated in Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what if you had to name your favorite movie of all time? Is there a favorite movie you've watched?
Uh, my favorite movie I'd have to say would be Secretariat.
Oh my God, yeah. Good choice. Good choice. I love that. I probably watched that 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, that's a real nice movie.
Yeah. What's the furthest place you've ever been away from home?
I would have to say would be the Little Brown Jug down in Delaware, Ohio.
Down Delaware. Awesome. I think Kate put this one in. What's your favorite subject in school? I would have never put that in there, just for the record. But anyway, what's your favorite subject in school?
I right now I would have to say gym class.
That
But let me tell you though, there's no subjects that teach about harness racing.
that's right.
I wish that I had a subject that taught about harness racing, but that would be my favorite so far.
So I bet you probably in your school life, have you ever done a project on horse racing?
Yeah, I did a heritage fair project for elementary like a while ago, and I actually did it on the history of the Gold Cup and Saucer.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Awesome, awesome. And if you won the lottery, what's the first thing you'd buy?
I would have to say, Scott, I think I would buy a I'd build a big land, and I'd build a few racetracks, and I'd make my own dream horse stable.
There you go. So speaking of the Dream Horse Stable, do you enter that contest that they have every year that follows the stake performers?
The fantasy stable.
Yeah, the fantasy stable.
Yeah, I do that every single year. But
Oh, do you?
I have no luck picking them, but I'm hoping for this year it'll be something different.
Well, keep at it for sure, man. And predictions. What about this weekend? You've probably had a chance to look over the lineup for the regionals. Who do you like in the top two? Who do you think will make the final?
Um, no favoritism, but I'd pick
No, no.
I hope Aaron Moffat does pretty good in it.
He's got
And
some good drives.
I'd pick I hope for good luck for him and Redmond Doucette representing the merit like down my way.
Yeah,
And to be honest with you, Scott, it's kind of hard to pick a top two because there's just a bunch of great drivers in that
yeah.
driving. So I wish good luck to all the drivers.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic because even when I went through and kind of looked at the morning line odds set for the different drivers and kind of did some math and things like that, it's a pretty even bunch this year. Like for instance, no driver got like the 5-2 or 3-1 choice, more than once maybe in the whole competition. So I think it's going to be wide open.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So listen, thanks very much for joining us, Justin. It's been a pleasure finally getting you on here. So sorry for any delays that we may have had, but we finally got you on here, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and just love your enthusiasm. Love that you're doing the announcing gig, and I hope you stick at that and get a great opportunity down the road, and just keep doing what you're doing, buddy.
Thank you. And Scott, can I say one more thing before I go?
You can say anything you want, buddy.
Um, I'd like to thank like everyone who helps me through the industry, like especially down in the Meadowlands, like Jessica Otten and Dave Brower before he ended up passing away,
Yeah.
and like Gabe Pruitt and like everybody. There's just too many people to thank. And
Yeah.
like before Dave ended up passing away down at the Red Mile, he was making a package to send me for Christmas.
Uh-huh.
And before he passed away, he got a ton of things for me. He even got me this hoodie from the Red
Uh,
Mall that was
yeah.
signed by the drivers and trainers and everybody. And
Um,
I'd like to thank like Gabe Pruitt, because after Dave passed, he finished the package and got it sent to me.
isn't that something?
Yeah, so I just like to thank like everybody that's helped me through the industry.
No, thanks for that, Justin. You're a class guy already at a very young age, and I look forward to watching you over the years. So best of luck, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Scott, and congrats on everything you guys do for this podcast. It's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We're going to keep it going, and already we're at number 28. And when Kate approached me down in Truro, she messaged me one day and she said, "Listen, I want to get involved, in your Facebook page and maybe do a little bit of writing and some stories." And anyway, I got thinking and I said, because I've always wanted to do a podcast here in the Maritimes on horse racing. And Kate is very, very sharp. Like she does a fantastic job with promotions. She does great videos and graphic artistry and stuff like that. And when she offered to be part of the podcast, I mean, I couldn't help but jump and try and take this as far as we can take it. So I appreciate you saying that, buddy.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah.
And if
So
you
again,
ever
yeah, go
and
ahead.
if you ever need any help, just let me know.
Definitely. Actually, I'll hold you to that. I'll have you as a special guest some night with
Okay, thanks, Scott.
yeah, and you and I will interview somebody. So I'll be in touch with you on that one, bud.
Okay, sounds good, Scott.
All right. So thanks again to our special guest tonight, Justin Turnbull down in Nova Scotia. And what a bright young guy this is. It was a pleasure, buddy, and I look forward to doing some work with you possibly in the next little while. So, our next episode coming up, we have Tammy McKay actually to make up. Ended up having to cancel recently, but we'll make that episode up. So, until next time, I'm Scott Waddell for Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate, again, sponsored by Governor's Pub and Eatery. And just wanted to say all the luck in the world to all the drivers in the Atlantic Regionals this weekend. And wanted to send a special shout out to Truro Raceway, having a successful opening day down at Truro with the number of stake races and overnight events. So they had a fantastic day, and hopefully they will continue that throughout the season. So again, thanks very much, Justin, and we'll see you next time on Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate.